You know, it's a scene that somehow isn't shocking or even mildly surprising anymore. Like so many other things in our culture today, what would have been totally unimaginable just a few years ago is now totally commonplace. Latest example is footage which went viral yesterday of elementary-aged students in a forced gay pride march through the hallways of a school. Now, I say this was a forced march because it's an activity the school came up with. I'm not sure whether the kids were allowed to decline participation or not, but even if they were, when you're a small child in the kind of school that holds gay pride marches in the hallway, even if you're allowed to not participate, you aren't really allowed to not participate. So here's the video, which was proudly posted by an administrator and then quickly removed, not as proudly, but let's watch this. All right, so you see all the kids cycling through there, and these are very young kids as well that we see walking down the hallway. Some of them seem enthusiastic, others not so much, but they're all in the march, in the gay pride march in the hallways of a school, an elementary school. And this happened, by the way, not in like Oregon or California or Vermont or one of those crazy leftist states, but actually Texas. Dawes Elementary School in Texas, in fact, is holding a whole week of gay celebration. It's their Pride Week. This week, they call it, and it includes many activities besides the creepy parade you just saw there. Part of the festivities are things that the school calls community circles, in which the children will participate in conversations that, as the instructions make clear, must remain confidential. Students are told explicitly that, quote, what we say in this room stays in this room, and, quote, remember to keep what happened in the circle confidential. And to make it even creepier, they, capital T, capital C for the circle. It's the circle. Now, if the phrase, remember to keep what happened in the circle confidential, sounds like something you'd be told at a cult meeting, and if what we say in this room stays in this room sounds like something that sounds like maybe like a threat from a pedophile abuser, then you're starting to understand what our public school system is and what it's all about. The Washington Examiner did reach out to Dawes Elementary to ask about these secret circles, and this is what they were told. Quote, a spokesperson for the Austin Independent School District told the Washington Examiner the circles were confidential in the sense that makes students feel trusted and respected for their privacy when sharing in the conversations, and that it should not be misconstrued to mean don't tell your parents. Circles are part of social emotional learning and are used for a variety of speaking topics such as test anxiety, world events, internal conflict resolution, social justice, the spokesperson said, and the conversation template allows for a process and gives everyone an optional opportunity to speak. Everyone, not just parents, has access to the materials ahead of time. Every parent has the right to opt out of these activities. Oh, they give you the old opt out. Like, once again, that's like opting out of the gay pride march when you're, a 7-year-old at one of these schools. Yeah, you could technically opt out, but there's a lot of social ostracization that comes with that. And also they're making it clear implicitly and probably explicitly that if you're not participating in all this kind of stuff, then you're a bigot. So now what you just heard there would already be a dubious excuse, even if you were predisposed to trust what schools tell you. But if you've been paying attention at all, you do not trust the schools at all. And so the assurances they give about their secret gay pride circle meetings will mean nothing to you at all. And it should mean anything to you because the schools are, just as they appear and so often act, abusive cult indoctrination centers. They are what you might call alternative reality generators. Now, I've said before that the news media are, I would dub them reality curators. So they take little bits of what's happening in the world, they cut out the parts they don't want you to see, and oftentimes they will ban you from talking about those things they don't want you to see, like what happened with the New York Post and Hunter Biden's laptop. And then all the parts they want you to see, they assemble them into the picture that they want to present to you. They operate according to a kind of ideologically driven algorithm. And when you're listening to the news media, that's really what you're getting, that you're getting an algorithm. The actual algorithms on social media are also ideologically driven, of course, in order to skew your perception of the world and reality itself. The schools, though, because they get the kids at such a young age and have them for so long, with hours every day of uninterrupted indoctrination opportunities, they go even deeper. They create an entire alternate reality. And after years of that, you end up with the sorts of college kids that I encounter, many of us have seen, protesting and so on, who seem like, they're from some sort of other dimension, really. They seem like beings from another dimension. They live in a world that has almost no connection to the real world. That's why the left gets away with propaganda campaigns that are so blatantly false as to, at first, seem almost farcical. For example, yesterday, Kim Mangione, who's a failed politician in California, tweeted a picture of a billboard with the word gay on it. And that's all it says. It just says gay. And she captioned the tweet, "How many of these billboards do you want me to put up in Florida?" And it's just says gay. It's all it says. This is obviously supposed to be in protest of the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. Now, my suggestion is that she put up one billboard for every time the word gay appears in the legislation itself, which of course means she's not going to be putting up any billboards at all because the word is not in the legislation. But the fact that the word doesn't appear in the legislation itself and that the Don't Say Gay bill is a total fabrication of the left doesn't matter. Their strategy is very simple. They don't like the Florida parental rights bill, but they can't argue against it without sounding like a bunch of perverted freaks. So instead, they completely invent a different bill out of thin air and argue against that instead. They get away with it. More than get away with it. In fact, they often win with this exact strategy because they run all the institutions and because they keep society supplied with a never-ending stream of people whose minds and souls exist in a fictional universe, a universe the left creates. Now, the good news, I guess, in a way, is that the people in charge of this indoctrination are very stupid. As the left increasingly prioritizes ideological conformity over anything else, also the quality of what they produce has gone down, and the quality of the people who are in charge of the indoctrination has gone down. This is why most Hollywood movies these days are so terrible. Hollywood, of course, has been liberal for a long time, but it used to hire the most talented people to tell compelling stories. And the stories would often happen to have a liberal bent because that was the worldview of the people telling the stories. Now, they don't hire the most talented people. Their first, second, and third priority is to fill their diversity quotas and make films and shows that advertise their leftist purity. This means that what they make is more intensely ideological than it's ever been, but also that the quality is worse than it's ever been. The bright side of that is that the indoctrination is less effective the more that the indoctrination is the primary goal. Christian movies, on the other end of the spectrum, have long had this exact same problem. Now, their message is actually good, so that's the key difference, and it's an important difference. But all the films, in the Christian movie industry care about is the message. They don't care about telling good stories or telling them well or having a good script, good acting. It's like they consider all of that to be secondary. And so they are far less effective at getting their message across because the movies are bad. Now, we see something like this in the school too, where many of the people teaching our kids are indoctrinators and groomers, of course, and also extremely stupid. Case in point, 2 middle school counselors in Oregon were mad this week that they couldn't fly their gay pride and BLM flags in school. So they recorded this TikTok video in their counseling office in protest. Watch. Okay, now you have to appreciate these 2 ladies flipping off the camera in front of a flag that says, "Be kind to all." You also have to appreciate the caption on the video, which misspells the word allowed. And somehow that manages to be, the most outrageous aspect of that video there. These are very dumb people with no discernible skills or abilities and double-digit IQs at best. In many such cases in the school system. But they don't need to be effective indoctrinators, really. Because unlike Hollywood and media and all the other institutions who are less effective in indoctrination when their quality goes down, in this case, with the school system, they have your kids for so many years and so many hours in a day that it becomes a sort of war of attrition with your child's soul, with your child's mind. They just keep pushing until they wear their victims down and have them firmly in their clutches. But there is a kind of easy solution. If not easy, then at least simple, which is get your kids out of the system and keep them out. Hey, listen, hit the subscribe button. Do it right now. I demand it. And I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.